Is there anybody that's really surprised about this? Like, seriously, is there anybody that is actually surprised that Anthony Joshua just absolutely wrecked Jake Paul? Like, there should be nobody shocked about this whatsoever. This was literally such a mismatch from the beginning. We all knew that coming into this. But, I mean, shout out to Jake for taking this matchup, right? Obviously, he was way in over his head. We all know that. But I feel like the most shocking thing to most people is the fact that Jake even made it as long as he did, right? A lot of the folks out there that were thinking the way that this fight was going to go was Joshua just puts his foot on the gas, moves forward, marches Jake down, and ends up knocking him out within the first few rounds. The problem with that is, have you never seen Anthony Joshua box before? Anthony Joshua is not some volume guy, right? He's just kind of this big behemoth that wades forward, waits to set up the right hand, and you know, Joshua eventually got to him, right? And this was all about Jake basically in survival mode for as long as this fight could go. That's what this was. It looked like Jake was basically just trying to survive in there. Was on his bike the whole time and was picking his times to dart into range, throw the big right hand, and throw Hail Marys. That's essentially what Jake was doing the whole fight. Sticking and moving, making it awkward. Knew he was outgunned. Right, and if you've ever been in there, right, when you're sparring with someone that just doesn't, they're way outskilled compared to you, right, and you start marching them down, right, they're running around, right, they're clinching up, they're doing awkward things, they're just not necessarily willing to engage, it could be actually kind of hard to get to somebody, right, and Jake does know what he's doing. You know what I mean? Jake's not like some clueless guy in there, but obviously we all knew he is clearly not the caliber of someone as Anthony Joshua, at least he shouldn't be. Anthony Joshua has been doing this his entire life, an Olympic boxer. Right, Anthony Joshua has devastating power, man. And this was just as simple as Anthony Joshua, like he said, he's just, I'm going to melt this guy. I'm going to break him. And that's what he did. Basically just being calm and composed, moving forward, waiting forward, right? Wasn't doing the best job cutting the ring off, which there's people out there saying, Joshua wasn't cutting the ring off. How weird is that? It's like that he was allowing Jake Paul to survive. Did you not see the seeking heat missiles that Joshua was throwing in his direction, dude? He was trying to take Jake's head off from the very first round. Now, again, he was looping on a lot of punches, which then was allowing Jake to, wade out of range. It was allowing him to roll. It was allowing him, to skirt along the ring side. But at the end of the day, when Joshua started to tighten up the technique and throw the straight right hand, he was starting to find the target. It was a nice adjustment by Joshua, man. And you got to remember, no matter what Anthony Joshua says in the post-fight interview, all the pressure was on him. All of the pressure was on AJ in this, man, because if Jake goes out there, it's like, whoa, how could Jake possibly pull this off, right? No, did you really think that Jake was going to win? Is there anybody out there that was that foolish to think that he was going to win this? Oh, it's scripted, it's rigged. I know it's rigged because he got absolutely flatlined with a right hand, and credit to Jake Paul, man, dude's got a hell of a chin. He was way outsized in this matchup, man, way outsized. And it's crazy because Jake's came a long way, man. Like, the guy is actually skilled. Like, when are people going to give Jake Paul his credit? People just don't want to give the guy his due. Is he a world-class boxer? Absolutely not. Is he a good athlete? Yes. Does he have some skills when it comes to the boxing? Yes. Does he have legit power? Yes. He was landing some good shots on Joshua. Darting him with the jab, keeping his chin tucked, throwing the jab up high. Bringing the right hand behind it, landed a really good right hand on Anthony Joshua at one point in the fight. But at the end of the day, like, what did you expect? What did you expect? This is a guy that's been boxing over the past few years, right, that does take it serious, does train like a full-time athlete. He's going in there against an absolute behemoth of an individual, a true specimen in Anthony Joshua, who flatlined a guy like Francis Ngannou. Right, Anthony Joshua is as world-class as it gets right now in the heavyweight division. He's a massive name. AJ's the one that had everything to lose in this, right? And obviously both of these guys, I'm sure, made a shitload of money, right? So good for both of them. Get your money, man. But at the end of the day, we knew that this was going to be the result. We knew. I think it just took longer than what a lot of people anticipated, right? And at the end of the day, Jake Paul, when you get someone in there that's just, they're not necessarily willing to engage, and every time you try to close them down, Jake Paul's out here acting like it's a UFC fight, right? Dipping underneath, shooting single legs, double legs, right? Rolling around on the canvas, trying to turn it into kind of this, gritty wrestling match type of thing going on. Send 2-3 years, then and forget, brother, right? I don't know, man. Like, people are out here talking about scripted, rigged. The dude literally got rocked with a ferocious right hand, got dropped a few times, and got a broken jaw. And then people were like, Jake Paul's reaction. I've never seen someone get dropped with a big shot like that and react that way. In order to get into the ring in the first place with a guy like Anthony Joshua, you got to be a little nuts. You got to be a little nuts. To be a fighter anyway and step in the ring, period, you got to be nutso. And in case you have not seen Jake Paul throughout like his career of boxing and whatever the heck this guy's been doing or just seeing him on social media, the guy's nuts. He's a psycho. He's a psycho, and you got to have a little crazy to you, right? Especially if you're going to go in there and do something like this. So at the end of the day, I mean, props to Jake Paul for showing up, making this happen, and people can complain all they want about this because that's what people do. They just, everything's negative, 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 negative. You still watched, and we all watched because it was the intrigue, right? And that's what Jake Paul, he understands how to capture people with the intrigue, right? It's like, oh, we got Nate Diaz, a legendary fighter. Can he do it? Can he be the guy to beat me? No, he couldn't. You got Tyron Woodley, power puncher. Maybe he can knock Jake out. Couldn't do it. Right? Anderson Silva, the slippery spider. Can he do it? Which shout out to Anderson Silva getting a vicious knockout of Tyron Woodley in round one. Guy's 50 years old, still going out there balling. But at the end of the day, people just don't want to give Jake his due, man. Like stepping in there with Anthony Joshua, it was all this intrigue of like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like Jake is way smaller than Joshua, hasn't been boxing that long, and he's in here with a real threat. This was the first time where we're like, Jake's getting knocked out. Like it's going to take a fluke for Jake Paul to win this fight. Literally, and that's basically what he was trying to do was throw Hail Mary right hands, seeing if he could essentially fluke a KO. And that's what he was doing. You know, floating around on the outside, moving around, avoiding, and then when Joshua would get kind of close, Jake would pick his moments to blitz in. And this just came down to the fact that Joshua was patient, didn't overextend, didn't get himself out of position to get caught with a massive shot that would knock him out and absolutely embarrass him. It was a patient, methodical, veteran-like approach from Joshua, and he just fatigued Jake. Right? Jake's not really used to carrying all that weight, at least in the boxing ring, right? We saw him in there with Tyson, but that's an old Mike Tyson who's not going to be able to push the pace. Joshua was pushing the pace, walking him down from the opening bell. Takes a toll on you, man, when you're on the back foot, being reactive the whole fight, skirting around, and that was ultimately was the undoing for Jake was, yeah, he was outskilled. Yeah, he was outpowered. He was out everything in this fight. You know, other than having youth on his side. And Jake still has power, right? And again, like he landed some decent shots throughout the match, but it was the reality of he got tired, man. He got absolutely tired. And once you start to fatigue against a guy like Joshua, it's just a shark in the water. Anyone with any kind of experience, you can't fatigue, man. That is a fighter's greatest fatigue, no matter the realm of combat, no matter what it is, wrestling, MMA, boxing, kickboxing. The worst fear of a fighter, if you ask them, is probably going to be not so much, yeah, maybe I get knocked out. Fatiguing, getting tired with plenty of time left in the fight or the bout. That's what happened to Jake Paul, man. That is one of the worst spots you could possibly be in. Getting tired, especially with a massive behemoth of an individual like Anthony Joshua in front of you with ferocious power, nasty speed for a heavyweight, and a guy that has a very, very good gas tank for a dude that was 240-some pounds, I think, on fight night, right? That was the contracted weight, whatever it was. He had to be 240-something, I think. So, at the end of the day, what did you expect, man? Shout out to Jake Paul. Entertained everybody on a Friday night, right? We knew he wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to win. Now, if Jake Paul would have won this, then it's like, whoa, what do we got going on here, man? Like, how the hell does Anthony Joshua lose to Jake Paul? But he lost. People were acting like, it was scripted, it was rigged. Anthony Joshua was methodical, not taking any chances. Remember, he was the guy with everything to lose, and he had a massive fight weighing in the balance that now is going to happen, AJ versus Fury. Imagine if Jake Paul would have knocked out Joshua, man. The scenes would have been crazy. This was everything for Joshua to lose with very little to gain. Very little to gain. This was everything for Jake Paul to gain. And both of these guys made a shitload of money, I'm sure, right? And that's what Jake Paul does. He knows how to market, knows how to rope people in, and it was the intrigue of this of, wow, he's really going to get in here and do this with a nasty heavyweight that has crazy power, and people are so shocked that this went longer than the first 2-3 rounds. Like, I understand that to a degree, right? You see Joshua, you see Jake Paul, he should steamroll him. But when you get a guy in there that's not really willing to engage, he's running around, right? Basically trying to drag this thing out, he was in survival mode. And then was darting into range, throwing these big Hail Mary shots, basically, right? He landed a few of them, but, I mean, Joshua's got a pretty good chin, man. I know he doesn't have the greatest chin, but at the end of the day, you don't really want to be relying on your chin in boxing, right? It's the sweet science, position, defense, not getting yourself out of position, not being overzealous. Joshua was hunting him down from the opening bell, and he just slowly started to suffocate him. It was like a snake that coils around its prey and it just slowly starts to apply that squeeze, slowly starts to constrict. That's what you saw. And then Joshua was able to fatigue him, was able to break him down, and then ultimately got to a nasty right hand when Jake started to slow down and the defense, it just wasn't there. Jake was holding his hands low, right? He's young, he's fast. Once you get tired, man, all that goes out the window. Joshua was calm and composed, planted a big right hand on him, man. I don't understand all the complaining from everybody. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it, right? I mean, is it the greatest high-level thing? No, of course not. No, it's not boxing at the highest level. But the intrigue was there, man. It was like, could Jake really do this? And the people that sit there and go, oh, you're just a clown show, man. Yeah, how cool of you, right? You still tuned in. You still tuned in. You're still caring. You're watching this video, so you care of somewhat to a degree, man. And shout out to Jake Paul for having the balls to get in there and do that, because there are plenty of fighters that are guys that have been around for forever that are not willing to take risks like this, especially in boxing. Especially in boxing. I know you could say, well, those guys are legacy boxers and they're real boxers and, all that stuff. And I understand that. But Jake Paul is not afraid to dare to be great and take a chance, man, and entertain people. So at the end of the day, this is exactly what we expected. Anthony Joshua getting a knockout, and Jake never stood a chance. It was going to take a fluke for Jake to beat AJ. If you thought Jake was going to win, you were delusional. You just were. You just were. I wonder when people are going to start giving Jake Paul his credit, man. The guy trains like a full-time athlete, works his rear end off, entertains, sells these fights well, right? All the microphone moments, the press conferences, right? He's a goofy clown, right? I mean, but he does this thing and he gets people to tune in, right? And then shout out to Anthony Joshua for going in there and doing what he was supposed to do, right? I think it took longer than what a lot of people expected, but he still ended up getting the KO. I just don't understand it, man. Like, Joshua was being patient, not wanting to overswing, get himself out of position to possibly get caught. It was just a slow breakdown from Joshua. Then he was able to get to him, gas him out, break him, knock him out with a big right hand and break the jaw of Jake Paul. I don't know, man. People are just always looking to complain about something. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. Like I said, what is scripted or rigged about Anthony Joshua planning a ferocious right hand like you see here behind me on Jake Paul? Like, I don't get it, man. I just flat out don't get it. A lot of the shots that Joshua was throwing, they were terrifying. They were massive shots. They were massive. And then when he started to find the timing on the right hand, started to straighten it out. We see fighters do that. They're a little reckless. They're a little wild, right? A little bit in the moment. It's a big spotlight. The pressure's on Joshua. And then he just tightened up the technique and was able to get Jake out of there. So that's what I saw. See you next time.